Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on SportsNetUSA.net. I am Corey Neyland, always alongside Mark Pavlovich in your upper left-hand corner, Ed Ford getting some FaceTime tonight in your bottom right-hand corner, and we're happy to be joined by Long Beach superstar head coach Megan Martinez. And we're going to talk a little bit of softball, as she is the head coach of Long Beach Community City College softball, and she's been there for 5 years now. And we're going to discuss softball, where it is now, where it's going, go back into the past just a little bit, discuss that as well, and how she and her unit is going to grow the game more. So, first question, as always, Megan, is belongs to Mark Pavlovich. Mark, let's get the show rolling.
Well, Corey, we're very lucky to have somebody who played for the alma mater she's coaching at, because we can go back to 2000, 2001, where Long Beach ended up making the conference finals one year, didn't win it, but then they came back in 2001 and won it. And when you look at her overall record at community college softball, it's quite impressive. So I'm going to say Amanda, you'll say Megan. Uh, let's go back. Let's go back to those first years at
Well,
Long
first
Beach
off,
City.
let's ask Coach real quick. What would you prefer, Coach?
So I definitely go by Coach Megan. Megan has always been my name that I've used on the field, so that's great. Either one.
Okay,
All right.
so
And also,
we'll
Mark, I'm
stick with.
not going to change all the titles that I've already
Oh, okay,
entered. So
okay,
it's Megan.
okay. So Megan, let's go back to your playing days at Long Beach City College when you went there, and let's talk about the experience where you went to high school at. Why the decision to play community college softball? Was there that opportunity for you to move on, or you felt comfortable, or you knew players there, and that's why you first started your collegiate career at Long Beach City College?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited to be here. It's great to talk softball after 7 months of COVID-19, so it's an absolute pleasure. I did go locally. I went to St. Joseph's High School. I played softball there for 4 years on the varsity team under Dennis Ross. And I did have opportunities to go to Division One, Division Two levels. I had some offers, and nothing really was set in stone. And I was a 4.0 student. I really wanted to get something going right away. So I just enrolled in Long Beach City. The coach had come, Shelly McCall, she had come to a lot of the games with her Daycare Park, where we're actually playing right now. That's where I had my high school career at St. Joseph's. Didn't have the field yet. So, Shelly McCall came to a lot of my games there. She was recruiting me. She seemed really interested, like she was going to take care of me. And I enrolled in school, and that's how my journey at Long Beach City began.
So let's stick with Long Beach City College because you really were at the heyday. I mean, we can go back to the Patty Gasso and talk about when she was there, but if I'm not mistaken, your team is the last team at Long Beach that made it to the conference finals. And of course, naturally in 2001, you won the state championship. So you were on a very prolific softball team when you were there. What was that experience like being in those tournaments way back in 2001?
It was really, really exciting. It was never an intense moment where we had a lot of pressure. We just had a really good time. We had a really tight unit. The girls, we fought really hard in practice. We tried to be the best every single day. Shelly really instilled in us that every time we were on the field, we were trying to get better. We were trying to get better. We had a goal. So winning conference for us wasn't a big deal. We knew that the state championship was our final destination. And we focused on that. We talked about it every single practice. We talked about being state champions. We talked about it at the beginning of practice. We talked about it in the middle of practice. That was our only goal, and that was our only focus. So winning regionals and winning conference was exciting. It was a lot of fun. We had the whole community behind us. That was a time when there were still newspapers. We were in a lot of the newspapers every day. I still have the cuttings. I miss that so much. But it was a time where you really had the college on your back, and you were rooting for you, and you wore your T-shirt on campus, and professors would know who you were, and it was just an exciting time. It was something that had changed my life forever, and it was something that I'll never forget. Coming together as a team, as a unit, as young women, and just continuing to fight for the goal and then accomplishing it was an incredible feeling.
And personally, as a player, what type of player were you, and how would you best describe a little bit more about your team back in the day?
So you guys have seen me coach. I'm very vocal. I'm very energetic. I like to have a good time. I like to dance, and I really love to win. I feel like every time you step on the field, your only goal is to win. It's to win personally. It's to win as a team. It's to win the little small battles that you have within yourself. To win the battles you have as a team. I love to be competitive. I love high energy. I like to, play loud music. We love loud cheers. We like to look like we're having a good time because really that's what we are. We're having a good time and we're winning a lot of ball games. Um, that team back in 2001 with Long Beach City was the same. Just a lot of high energy, very competitive. We would hang out on the weekends, and anything we did was of competitive nature. You could tie your shoes faster. Well, I can tie both my shoes faster than you can. It was just always something competitive. We were always trying to be better than each other. We were always trying to be the best. But at the same time, when it came to game time, we were supporting each other just as much as we could. So it was a big family. It really was. We did a lot of team dinners. We did a lot of holidays together. We did a lot at coach's house. We were just one really tight unit with a ton of energy. Just if I could bottle that energy up and have some of it now to some of my players, I would really love that.
And you speak of that team also with that energy and that camaraderie. Now, the best players on your team and the best players around that state during that time, would you consider that team the best, most talented team, or was it just the camaraderie, the chemistry, and the hard work that paid off at the end?
When you get to college, you have a whole bunch of MVPs from high schools. You have a whole bunch of McDonald's Hall of Fame. I think we had like 50% of the McDonald's Hall of Fame. I don't know if you guys remember that back in the day. But we had about almost every player from the local area. And it's not, people think, oh, you have a high recruiting class. It's something that's easy to put together. It's not. I think it's harder to mesh superstars all together. I think it's harder to take a whole bunch of MVPs, put them on one team, and tell them to go out there and play a game. So I give a lot of credit to our coaching staff. Jack Hutchinson was also part of that. That just made us feel like a family. We did have fantastic pitching, fantastic catching, fantastic hitters. We had a ton of speed, but I don't know if we were necessarily just flat out better than everybody, or if we just really believed at the core that we were going to be able to win this, and that together we were such a strong unit that we had each other's back. That competitive nature made us bond to one another because not another a team was not going to come in and beat us. There was no way we were going to allow that to happen. So to answer your question, I think that it was just the camaraderie, the sisterhood. I still talk to a lot of them, believe it or not, and that's how many years ago. Don't remind me. But we still communicate. They still send me messages on social media. They always are buying softball gear from us for fundraisers. They're attending our events. They're attending our games. It's just something that it was a lifetime experience for all of us, I believe.
Megan, your next step after being at Long Beach City and winning the state championship, you went on to Dominguez Hills, a Division II team that is still highly regarded in NC2A softball. What was that transition like of going from community college to a four-year university and playing softball?
Yeah, I think about 95% of us signed scholarships from that championship team, or if not everybody. And I did go over to Dominguez with two other players from Long Beach City. I'd known Jim Mayer, who was the head coach over there. He coached at St. Paul High School. He knew who I was. He knew who my teammates were from St. Joseph's. It was a transition that I feel that my training at St. Joseph's and my training at Long Beach City allowed me to understand that discipline and hard work was the only thing that Jim Mayer was going to accept. I felt like we went from, training in the weight room 2 to 3 times a week to training every day at Dominguez at 5:30 in the morning. I don't think I'd seen 5:30 in the morning before as a 21-year-old female athlete. but we did it. And you think, you think to yourself, that's going to be impossible, but it's not. And you do it, and it becomes something that you crave. We'd go onto the track back at Dominguez Hills, and we'd have to be there at 5:30. And Jim Mayer said 5:30. He meant 5:20. So you're out there. It's still dark, and you are just thinking to yourself, "What have I done?" On one hand, you feel so blessed to have received a scholarship, and on the other hand, you think, "I am crazy." So it was a good transition. I loved it. Jim Mayer is all about almost like a military type of discipline. He has a contract, a large handbook that you follow. It's very spelled out for you. There's no wondering what you're going to do. You know exactly what you're going to do from August till the championships in late May. So I appreciated the transition. I thought it was good. You start flying out of town every weekend. Your bags are permanently packed. You have 5 uniforms to wear. It was exciting. It was an incredible Division II experience. We went over there and won a ton of games, conference championships, and it was something that was exciting, and again, something I'll never forget. I've been very blessed in my softball career to play two fantastic coaches, two fantastic programs, and again, there was a lot of high energy too. Luckily, that was something that culturally, that from the softball culture that I brought with me, is just a ton of energy.
Megan, you talk about that, but while you were there at Cal State Dominguez, you were team captain. So, I mean, you must have brought something over. You talk about what your coach did, but you had to bring something over that inspired him to say to you, okay, I know you won a state championship, ego aside, here's what you do. So is this the beginning of your foundation for your coaching career? Because you had to be a leader when you were at Cal State Dominguez.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a team captain at Long Beach City for 2 years, and leadership just kind of comes natural to me. I think Jim knew that. I feel like he definitely wanted me to bring that side of softball to his program, and I did. I just a ton of energy. I like to be happy. I like to positive. I like to have a good time. I like for the persons to my right and to my left to feel supported, to feel loved, to feel energy, to feel like we can conquer anything together, because I honestly believe that. I still coach that way now. Just a ton of high energy. I think that Jim, well, I mean, I know he has told me before. That's definitely why he brought me onto the program. And as you know, I started my coaching career there with him. It's something that I think I've been lucky to have, is just a positive outlook, but at the same time, I like to work really hard, and I like my athletes to work really hard, and I like to have a good time. And people are like, how can you have a good time and be so strict on your team? I think that you can be both. You can ask anybody that's played for me. I like to have a ton of fun. I like to hug you. I tell you I love you. My players know I care about them. They know that I pray for them. But they also know the second we touch the field, it's all hard work.
So go ahead, Mark.
Well, no, I was just going to follow up because when you got done there, let's take that next step. We can look at where Compton College is now. So, what was the experience for you to go to Compton College? It isn't the situation that it is today, and really, that became your real first program for you as a coach and also as an educator.
Yeah, Mark, you've done your research. You know all about me. So I was at Dominguez for 3 years, and I decided to get married and start my adult life. I became a mom, and then I get a call. Well, I was teaching at Compton College, and I got a call from their athletic director who had met me, and he said, we don't have a softball team. We really want one. We think that you can start it. And I said, what do you mean you don't have a team? Like, do you have equipment? Do you have uniforms? Do you have a schedule? He said, we don't have anything, but I believe that you can start it. And that's how I got started at Compton College. There was nothing set in place, not a ball, not a glove, nothing, not a visor, not a player. There was one basketball girl that walked up to me and she said, oh, I heard there's going to be a team. So there was literally nothing there. We printed out flyers, like old school flyers. We posted them around campus. Luckily, I knew some students because I was helping with the English department there. And I just went out handing flyers out. And you know what they say, if you build it, they'll come. I don't know how we did it, but we created an incredible program that, ended up in 3 years beating Long Beach City, which was bittersweet for me. We took Mount Sac to a couple of, tight games, and we gave other teams a run for their money. And it was just something that we were building a lot of respect. Coaches would want to talk to us after the game, and we just became competitive. I just brought the high energy. I brought the competitive nature. And I always tell them, you have absolutely nothing to lose. Not one person here believes that you could win. Not one person believes that you can get a base hit. And when you tell a certain type of female athlete that really sets a fire under them. And so we went out and we fundraised, and I went to garage sales and found extra equipment. And I picked up Hector Pavlovich, a good friend of mine, to come coach for free. And we just set ourselves and said, we have nothing to lose. Let's go see what this JUCO world is about. And we did so. We went out and we won a lot of games. Not first. First, we lost a lot of games. I won, I think, 2 games my first year. It was horrible. I would cry in the car, and I wondered what I was doing. And I just told myself, you know what? You're a JUCO coach. You're new. You got to work your way up the ladder, and you can't quit now. I put my name on this team, and I'm not going to stop now. I'm not going to stop a loser, and I'm not going to be a quitter. And I just kept working hard, and girls kept fighting with us and fighting and working hard, and pedal to the metal. And we did it. We won some games. We created a culture that was really exciting, really fun. We almost went into the playoffs that third year, and it was just a whirlwind of excitement and a lot of fun. A lot of tears, but a lot of fun.
And you talk about lighting a fire under a certain female athlete and as a softball player. What's that mean, and what is that fire that you speak of?
Guys, it's no secret that a male athlete and a female student athlete is treated completely differently. Besides the Title IX issues, you have to pay to get into a male's game, even in the JUCO world. Our games, we will give you a hot dog for free if you come. It is just a totally different environment. And you have to remind young female student athletes that you need to crawl your way up to the top, not just on a softball field, but in life. That's something that I've promoted since day one. I believe that we as female student athletes need to continue to prove ourselves over and over and over and over. And we've got to show the world who we are and what we're about. We could be fantastic in the classroom, and we have to be better on the field, and we have to be good role models and good citizens, and we've got to do community work, and we have to go the extra mile to be respected. And I think that's a fair statement for a female athlete. It's proven in everyday world with WNBA and the NBA. But back to the JUCO world, I just think that, you have to remind a female student athlete that she's got to go above and beyond to be respected. And that respect comes when you win games and you carry yourself in the proper manner in the classroom and on the field.
So you're at Compton for what, 4 seasons? What happened to make you go from Compton over to back to your home diamond at Long Beach?
Yeah, that's a fun time in my life. I received a call from someone over in the Long Beach City department, and they said, we're looking for a new coach. Would you be interested in applying? I've lived in Long Beach my entire life, Lakewood, Long Beach area. And I don't know if you know anything about Clark Avenue, but I would drive from Clark Avenue from the Los Altos area or Seal Beach area, and I would pass Long Beach City every time I was going to work at Compton College. And I always told myself, man, it would be so great to come back home. It'd be so great to coach here. It'd be so great to be a Viking. It should just go about your day, but that was always in the back of my mind. And then I'd drive home after practice or a game at 5:30 p.m. and I'd pass Long Beach, keep going down Clark, and I'd go home. And, they got the new logo, and I would see it out on the building. So when I got the call, I was ecstatic. I was excited. For a moment, I didn't think about my Compton College team. I just thought, what an incredible opportunity. I've been putting this out there. I put it out to the universe that I wanted to come back home. I put it in the universe that I wanted to lead a team at a college that meant so much to me and changed so much of my life and created really who I am as a person. So when I received that call, I applied. I went through the entire process, and they called me. I was actually at Compton. They put me on a speaker call to tell me that I had gotten the job and they'd like to make me the offer. And I was just so delighted to come back home. And at the same time, I put my phone down, I turn over, and there's my Compton College team who worked so hard for me and for themselves and for the community. And it was bittersweet. It was tough. It's hard. It's hard to build something from the bottom up and then to walk away from it. It's tough to put blood, sweat, and tears. That's such a cliche, but I couldn't be more true. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into building that program. And to have to walk away from it was tough, but I knew that it was an opportunity for me to go back home. And Long Beach has been always so close to my heart. I still wear my championship ring. I knew that it was something that I had to accept, and I was very thrilled to go back home.
Megan, you talk about, and you brought it up about the female athletes and everything, but let's look at a coach, because you go to Long Beach and you need to realize that you're probably in the toughest section, and I mean the entire state of California, to be a community college softball coach. You can look at Kelly Ford, where she was at the time, the traditional Brad Pickler, who is probably going to get buried at first base. You could take Cody
I tell him
over
that
at
all the
Cerritos. Yeah. And you chose, instead of going outside the state of California, outside of Southern California, to coach at Long Beach, where I've got to believe the challenge for you as a coach, you knew when you were walking in, I'm walking into a storm, because all the community colleges around me are loaded, great coaches, and they get. So what do you do when you go to Long Beach and you start that program? How do you get young women to come to you with all the great competition around you at Long Beach City College?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mark. So after the excitement goes away and you step on the field and you realize, Long Beach is not where it once was and where it needs to be. You realize how much work you just walked into. That saying, you walk into a lion's den. So I knew that I had a lot of work to do. I knew I had an uphill battle, but I told myself that if I did it at Compton College from nothing, I knew that I could do it here. I knew that I could bring the energy. I knew I could bring the excitement. I knew I could put Long Beach back on the map. We are in the Southern California mecca softball of the world, and I knew the recruiting was going to be tough, but I also knew there was enough players to go around. And I also know that a lot of these schools recruit 40 to 50 girls. And I know that feeling like just a number is not something that a lot of these softball female student athletes want to feel. I knew that I could give them a shot. I could let them start. I could offer them playing time. Again, it's playing when you have no pressure is an easy thing to do. Well, it's easier to do when nobody's rooting for Long Beach anymore, and I can bring these players in town. Look, you're going to get a ton of playing time. You're going to get a ton of exposure. I can put you up against Mount Sac, against El Camino, against Cerritos, where big schools are going to be looking at those players. But guess what? When you get a hit off of that pitcher that they're recruiting, suddenly their interest goes to you. So I knew that I could go out. I knew that I have a way with words. I knew I could recruit athletes. I knew I could get new gear. I knew I could make it look enticing, and we did that. That's exactly what I did. My first recruiting class was a big number, and I was able to make sure in the fall that these girls got playing time and made sure that Long Beach was something that they wanted to stay.
And you speak of that recruiting, that first recruiting class, your next couple of recruiting classes. When you're as a coach at El Camino, Compton, and Long Beach in that first couple of years, did you think back to your recruiting process and incorporate that into how you recruit your female athletes?
Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't want to feel loved? Who doesn't want to feel appreciated? Not just athletes, it is human nature. You want to feel wanted, you want to feel loved, you want to feel appreciated, and you want to feel needed. And you want to feel like you're going to go somewhere that we're going to take care of you as a person, not just a number. You want to go to a smaller college where you are an actual human being and people are going to help you and counselors are going to be there for you. That was really my motivation. That is really what I went for. I really went for letting these athletes know, look, I had opportunities to go to Division One. I know that's the big deal. Division Two softball out of high school. Everybody wants to have the big signing day, but the percentage of athletes that come home because they don't get playing time, it's incredibly high. You want to get a scholarship, so you don't get one, so you go to Florida. That's clearly across the country. You're going to get homesick. Come play for me for 2 years. Give yourself a chance to become an 18-year-old woman to a 20-year-old woman. I promise you, those are two different mentalities. And then at 20 years old, if you want to go to Florida, go to Florida. we'll write to each other. You know, I wanted them to know, you're going to come here, you're going to work hard, and we will get you out somewhere.
Megan, do
Well,
you
I
feel
got
that in your area, from the young women, the girls coming out of high school, that you really have a bountiful area of high schools to get young women from? Because you have a lot of competition. I mean, people, they can play at a lot of different community colleges. They can go to El Camino that has an outstanding program. You have an outstanding program, Cerritos, Mount Sac, and then, you know, travel a little farther than that, you run into some of the, you know, Orange County schools, as Mark was alluding to. Is that kind of a tough thing to do? To
Absolutely.
con-
Absolutely. Every game I go to, there's all these other coaches just as eager as I am with their speech and their beliefs, what they're going to put into these players. It's almost like a race to get to the athlete after the game. Absolutely, it's difficult. Now with social media, you see it all over the place. I'm telling you, every game you go to, there is a college coach from one of these colleges you just spoke of. Yeah, it's definitely difficult, but I also believe that Long Beach is a different type of school. We're a different type of fit. We're more like a family. We do have a smaller focus. We have a smaller population. So if you're looking for a big time school with a big field, then you know we're definitely not the place for you. And we want you to feel welcome, and we want you to feel at home wherever you go. I support all my recruits' decisions. I wish you the best. I tell them all the same thing. I wish you the best. If things don't work out where you're going or your plans change, you give me a call. They have my personal cell phone number. They know how to reach me. I want these athletes to go to a place where they're going to feel their best and they're going to perform their best. But it's tough out there.
Megan, one of the things I want to know, because you being a young coach and everything else, and I once asked Cody this over at Cerritos. You mentioned that your mentor was a gentleman and that coached softball. So I've got to ask a young female coach, because you've been promoting women all during this show. How difficult was you being that young woman that came into softball? Was the coaching changing where it was starting to roll over to be female coaches in the world of softball, or did you step in where it was that 50-50 balance? And was that weird little transition where they said, no, I'll play for you because you're a woman coach, or I'll go play for Brad and somebody else because men know a little more about softball? So what was it like when you started? Was it the thinking for you like, yeah, it's a woman's sport, or I'm still in the good old man society when it comes to coaching?
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. So I do have a couple of coaches that influenced me, and Shelly McCall is definitely one, and she's a female coach. I mentioned, you know, Dennis Bloss in high school and Jim Mayer over at Cal State Dominguez. So I have had, you know, a female mentor and a male mentor, but I did walk into a male predominant coaching world, and it's probably 50-50 now. I think it's transitioning a bit more recently in the last state meeting I was looking around. Yeah, but it was definitely a male-dominated world, and you know that belief that older men know more about the game, they've lived more, and it's close to baseball, and they played semi-pro or AAA or whatever it is that they played for, and no, you know, no respect. But I think that being a younger female Latina in a world where Southern California is changing, I think it helps me. I think players want to play for someone who has played the game, has gone the exact route that they're about to go, that wants to be a female professional in a world that does have a family and is a mom and understands some more elements of the personal attributes of the female and knows more about the emotional aspects of the game and can really relate. And I think that, you know, when I have daughters, and when they play for female coaches, I'm ecstatic because I feel like a female can coach a female much better. Is that okay to say?
No, it's not. Well, actually, we've had that exact conversation about female coaches and male coaches, and I'd like for you to expand on why is it better? Explain why it's better, because not many people answer that question when we ask it.
Uh-oh, maybe I wasn't supposed to
No,
answer.
no. We want you to answer because that's something we're very
You
interested in.
know, I'm brutally honest. I do feel like a female coach can coach a female better in certain aspects. I think the female knows the female body. I think the female knows female emotions that an athlete is going through. I think that a female coach knows the lack of respect sometimes that can be given to a female athlete. I think that I can relate to a female much better than you guys can. Obviously, right? I think that I can be strict with them and motherly to them and loving to them, but I can also be an incredible disciplinary where they're not going to pretend like, oh, I can't today. I don't feel good. Nope, not acceptable. Get on the field. I don't feel good either. Or, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend or my girlfriend. Or, yeah, we all have bad days. Get on the field. That's something that I don't let deter me from how I treat them and the expectations that I have. I have really high expectations for them because I know that in the professional world, they're going to have to fight every single day for the respect that they deserve. And so that's what I expect of them on my field.
Megan, when you're recruiting, what are the rules like when you go to maybe a club event, high schools? I mean, what are the differences between the NC2A, Division One, Division Two, Division Three, and the community college when it comes to contact with high school athletes?
So it's actually an ever changing world right now. There's a lot of different changes that are happening. As in regard to an out of state athlete, they have to contact me first. We do have recruiting districts in certain areas that we can go to, and we have lists of schools that we can contact. And there's a lot of rules. Like I can't talk to a player first that's from another school or that's talking to another coach. There's a lot of rules set in place. I don't know if everybody follows them. I try and and I do my best. And when athletes reach out to me, we have them fill out certain forms that say that they are reaching out to us, and we do the protocols that are needed, and we make sure that we're following every single guideline that's needed.
Megan, Ed brings up the athlete, so I'm going to look at you as the educator right now because I know there's one side that's a coach, but you're an educator combined. Most coaches don't get that credit. So, do you use, and I find your story to be a success story, and you brought up being a Latina woman. So, how do you roll education, softball, a Latina woman in a dominantly male sport, and preach to these young women in these trying times? Hey, the world is open to you because we live in a time where it doesn't feel like the world is open to everybody. How do you roll that all together and throw it? Assume that us three are females. How would you throw that at us to convince us that there is something positive being a coach and educator and a woman of Latin heritage?
Well, very carefully. I lose a lot of sleep at night, Mark. So I am an educator. I've been in the classroom for about 15 years. I did LBUSD for a while, and I was helping out with the English department at Compton College. And now I'm with EM Academics as a director of education. So I think that it is painful for my athletes because they know exactly that I know exactly what's going on in the classroom. I know that the effort they need to put forth for the grades. I know the assignments that are coming out. I know the expectations of the teachers. And I know that it is very possible to be successful in both because I did it myself. I was a 4.0 at all of my grades, all of my colleges, and I, worked really hard on the softball field. Don't come from a ton of money, so I know it is possible to do all of those things. And they probably hate it because I preach to them about it all the time. But the world is theirs. I tell them that all the time. It sounds so cliche, but I tell them the world is yours. Right now, it is an ever changing world, and the doors are opening up for so many people. Um, and you need to go out there and get it. You need to behave properly, hold the standard high. You need to present yourself in a professional manner at all times. You need to succeed in the classroom first and foremost. That is absolutely the most important. There is no softball player that's going to go make hundreds of thousands of dollars like Mookie Betts. What was his signing bonus? Some ridiculous millions amount, 382 million. guess what? My players aren't going to ever receive that. They're not going to receive that as a professional athlete. So they must succeed in the classroom. They know that. And they know I know the expectations. They know I know the standards for the academic discourse that they're in. They know that I know. So there is no pulling the sheets over me. Absolutely not.
Once again, for those who don't know, you're watching the show on sportsnetusa.net. We're here with the head coach of Long Beach City College softball, Megan Martinez. And you talk about those grades and classwork comes first. How is COVID affecting you with that right now?
Oh, COVID. Man, it has absolutely turned our world upside down, hasn't it? So I just want to give you a quick story. On March 15th, March 13th, we were taking off to go play Bakersfield City College. I'm loading the vans, we're getting the equipment ready, and I get a call from my athletic director, and he said, put the vans back. We are going into a complete shutdown. And I figured maybe a week or two. I had no idea it was going to be this 7 month drawn out, very long, very extensive, painful situation. Um, but it's been tough. It's been tough to keep our students on task. It's been tough to keep them motivated. You know, I'm allowed to. The way I keep them motivated during the season is I do grade checks. I know what their grades are. We give out little rewards. We talk about and praise those that are doing fantastic at our home games. We announce their GPA. And they're excited about that. That little recognition, that feeling of appreciation and love goes a long way. So when I can't give out these, special recognitions and let them know how proud we are of them in person, it was really tough. We had to keep motivated on Zoom. We had to keep motivated by phone calls. I spent a lot of time on FaceTime, a lot of time on Zoom calling. And I've sat in my computer for 7 months just making sure that my athletes were okay. We have a ton of resources at Long Beach City. We have a ton of people that really care about our athletes. They're monitoring their grades. They have an electronic system that's monitoring how they're doing. But it just took a lot of phone calls, reaching out. It's hard when you can't physically go and hug your athlete and tell them that everything's going to be okay, especially when you don't know if it's going to be okay. I have my own family here that I was worried about, and my children are stuck at home without their sports, and it allowed me to think of my own athletes, how they were struggling and the emotions that they were going through. And it was really tough. We all survived. Everybody got through it. They passed their classes, and that's something that I'm really proud of. We just can't wait to get back on the field in January.
How do you keep your players motivated to keep working out?
Wow, it has been tough. Now things are loosening up, and they're able to go to batting cages, and they're able to go to the parks now. But it was tough at first. I don't know how you guys handled it, but a lot of them didn't want to get out of bed. Nobody knew what was going on. The entire world was shut down. A lot of them, their parents were lost their jobs. Some of them were, afraid and scared and worried, and they had every reason to be. They're 18, 19-year-old children, I call them, in a world where it was so uncertain that adults were barely able to handle it, the emotional stress that was going on. So when you think of an 18 and 19-year-old worried student, it brings tears to my eyes because there was so much concern for them. But we tried to keep them on a schedule. We had Zoom workouts, we had Zoom meetings. Their course became online, so I taught softball online. That was interesting. We gave them workouts. They had to either do it live with us or they had to submit a video of their workout, stuff like that. We tried to have little celebrations on the Zoom, individual personal victories that we shared. We talked a lot about how we were feeling, and we were able to share, and it was just really human connection that we were really trying to promote.
Megan, we before we get away from our hour, of course, I could ask you a couple questions that no matter what I ask you, Corey Neyland's going to tell you I'm wrong, or Ed Ford's going to roll his head and go, "Oh God, here they go." But I do have to ask. There goes Ed. I do have to ask the question because you played on a championship team a few years back, not as many as us old guys have been in the game, but you played a few years back. I've got to ask you, has the game changed? I mean, yeah, you hit a ball with a bat, but if things changed since you were a player to coaching now, would you say, Mark, softball's the same but? Or is there no but when we talk about softball?
It has changed so much. So I don't know who agrees with me on this discussion, but it has changed an incredible amount. Players have gotten stronger, faster. Now they have personal trainers. Now we have bat speed analysis, overhand throw analysis, underhand speed. We have every analysis you could think of. We have iPads in the dugouts. We have cameras at practice. We have GoPros at games. We can watch film. I mean, I didn't even have a cell phone in college. I had a beeper. That's how old I am. I'm dating myself. But yeah, it's been, something I've had to learn to love and I really appreciate. Long Beach City really provides me with all the tools that I need. They give us cameras and computers that I'm on right now, and they have a huddle and different apps that we can download that they take care of. Our athletes can download apps. They can analyze their swing. They put on a little device on their bat, and I can see how many times they're swinging in a day. I mean, stuff that, sounded like the Jetsons. I don't know if you remember the Jetsons back in the day. Again, I'm dating myself, but things that you were just like almost like flying cars. And it is incredible the amount it has changed. However, the core of the game has absolutely not changed. It's still 90% mental, 10% effort, and you still pitch and hit a ball. You're correct, Mark, but there is a lot. Girls are stronger, girls are faster. These left-handed batters could get to first in 2.8 seconds, and that's very quick. And there's just so much more out there that we know about rehabilitation, taking care of your body, and what we should be eating. And our athletes know about nutrition now. And think about when we were playing. I mean, I'd go to McDonald's and grab a cheeseburger before a game. And now, if I saw an athlete with the fast food bag, that wouldn't happen. They'd know they'd be in a lot of trouble. So yeah, all this internet and social media and learning everything and being able to be better, stronger, faster. I think about all the personal trainers now and the weightlifting coaches and the strength and agility coaches. And I mean, I could go on and on about how the game has evolved for sports in general and a global impact it's had. And but yeah, I think the game has definitely it's a lot faster. It's a lot stronger. It's a lot more popular now. It's huge. It's everywhere you turn. There's little girls playing softball, and it's beautiful. Our sport has grown immensely, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Megan, there have been changes,
And
but when I travel around Southern California and even go to some Central California schools, it seems like the facilities haven't really kept up with the sport. I know at Long Beach that there's going to be some building going on that will vastly improve your athletic facilities there. And one of the plans is to, from what I've seen, make your softball field really something gorgeous. Do you have any information about that you could pass on to us?
Of course I do. Yes, this is man. I've been in a lot of meetings, probably about a year and a half's worth of meetings after that large bond was passed, and we're really excited. Again, on Clark Avenue, we're now going to be on Clark Avenue behind the baseball field. If you drive by now, you can see the skeleton of what's going to be Viking Stadium, and it is absolutely gorgeous. If you go to our Instagram at lbcc.softball, you will see the plans that are there that are on my Instagram. The team's Instagram, and you can see the branding that's done in center field. We're going to have a large Viking, and the facility with restrooms in the dugout and offices behind the dugouts and umpire changing rooms and stadium seating and our own private entrance. I mean, I could go on and on. It is absolutely stunning, and I cannot wait for 2021 or 2022. The date hasn't been officially set. It's moving rather quickly because of COVID, and there's not a lot of traffic, and there's no students, so it's moving really quickly. But the batting cages and the bullpens on both sides, the locker rooms, and
When Ed brings up the facility and that, I mean, is that going to enhance your recruiting to Megan when you look at it compared to?
absolutely. Who does not want to play on a state-of-the-art, brand new, gorgeous facility? I know I do, and I know it is going to help in the recruiting process an incredible amount. I cannot wait.
and you talk about the brand new facilities. You talked about the weight training, the personal trainers, and all of that, the change in softball. I have two questions for you. One is, has it made the players that much better than before, or is it just making
Ah,
the players take care of themselves better?
Both. I think both. I think that the healthier athlete has becoming stronger and faster. And I think that the athletes are becoming a lot more aware of their body and the body movements and the fundamentals and how certain weight lifting and certain conditioning and certain strength training can really enhance the speed and the power of what they're doing. It's
Okay, and
become
the
a
second
faster
part
game.
is it's become a faster game. So it's become a faster game. I'm going to let Mark take that question because I know he wants to ask a question about that, but I want to go back to it. You mentioned about the growth of the game and making things better. I wanted to get your opinion on the Athletes Unlimited tournament that just happened in August and September in Chicago, that the softball tournament for professional. Do you think that's going to make softball even more popular with that aspect?
I hope so. I hope so. It's fun to see a professional level out there. It's fun to see another goal that these young women can find after Division 1 or Division 2 college softball. It's fun to see another route that they can go. I hope it grows. I hope it gets bigger. I'm hopeful. I am definitely hopeful. I think paying some of these athletes to perform and to entertain and to show the competitive nature of the game, I think it's exciting. And I think, yeah, it could definitely grow our sport if it continues and continues to grow. We got some ESPN time. Did you see that? Anybody during COVID?
Yeah, we
Yeah, it's
did.
exciting.
It was fun to watch.
we
So.
did.
It was.
In regards to RPI, just the playoffs in general. Now, normally the Vikings in the last years that you've been there, Megan, you always qualify for the playoffs. But there have been some strange, to use a word that I normally never say, wonky things that happen sometimes, as in 2017 with Feather River. So, have there been any steps to make the playoffs and the teams that get it a little, the equity a little better? It seems like it has gotten better, and we don't have some of these strange things where teams totally get ignored.
Yeah, I agree. I think whenever you have the ability to let humans taint or make adjustments to the fairness of who should be in and out of the playoffs, when you can eliminate that aspect, the human aspect, it'll make for a much more level or fair teams that are involved into the playoffs. So we just had a large state meeting with the coaches in California about this, and it was voted that the RPI will be adjusted, and it's still something that they're working on. And they're talking about maybe just the top 16 teams, top RPI teams go into playoffs. They leave out all the other categories. So
Uh,
that's up in the air right now. I would like to take a lot of the human vote out of it, a lot of the human persuasion out of it, because that just becomes unfair. I'll leave it at that.
Thanks,
All
Ed,
right.
for the chuckle. And and,
Go ahead.
and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go
I
directly to
didn't actually
RPI.
chuckle.
Oh, I thought somebody did.
I was chuckling at your response, perhaps, but that's about
Yeah,
it.
Megan, I'm going to go to RPI because RPI is based on your winning percentage. It's based on your opponent's winning percentage, and it's based on matchup. The thing that it's not based on, if I played everybody in this square and I beat you 10-0, Corey 10-0, and Ed 10-0, and Corey ends up beating you 2-1, 1-0, and gets in a tie with Ed and beats him on an air in the 14th inning, our RPIs end up getting balanced. There is no competition value in RPI at all. I could beat the crud out of everybody, but my all of a sudden the competition records are the same. So when you bring up RPIs going to determine maybe the top six, then why don't we just look at all the conferences, get rid of them, make it open play for everybody, and say, hey, if you want to make the playoffs, you, a Southern California team, need to go to Northern California and play who we've got ranked in the top five. And Corey, you need to come down to San Diego from Northern California and play in the Southern California section. And at the end of the day, who's ever got the most wins gets the playoffs, because it's not fair to teams like you if we're going to base it on RPI, that let's say your conference isn't that good and the teams that you schedule outside of conference, winning records are horrible because that's just the way it happens. And then you don't make the playoffs, like Ed has alluded to already. It's time that coaches stand up and say, hey, judge me for my win and loss record and take the rather little formulas that you think are really cool and get rid of them.
I'm going to bring you to the next state meeting.
I
Oh,
think that would be a
we
smart
would
move on
love to
your
go to
end.
the state meeting. We've wanted to do
I'll bring you
that
guys.
for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. There's
Ed,
working on. You wouldn't believe the amount of meetings and hours we spent on Zoom during this COVID-19 era, working on the playoffs, and it's the same people. But I'll definitely bring you Mark next time.
Ed's
I
coming
agree.
with
And you
me.
should.
Yeah, Ed and I'll do that. So before I let her go too, because I know Ed and Corey want to ask something, but I'm going to get it in anyway. Megan, when you look at ERA, when you look at the NCAA, 31 players in their lifetimes, ERA is under 1. Many of them have ERAs under 5. I know it's community college softball. I understand that because my partner will throw his 2 cents in about it's community college softball. What is an acceptable, not a marginal, a truly acceptable ERA in women's softball?
Good question. I would like my pictures to be under 2, under 1.8. I would love that. That would make me so happy.
Yes, thank you. Great answer.
Thanks.
There you go, Corey Neyland. There you go, Corey Neyland. Get your 2.3s and 2.5s away from me.
I said it was a big wish of mine.
Thank
Well, yeah,
you.
but
We're
you're the
both
expert.
right.
You're the
I'll
coach.
take the win.
You're the coach.
We'll take that. And Megan, before we get out of here, Ed may have one more question. When you talk about softball, when you talk about Long Beach City softball, what do you want fans? What do you want players? What do you want the community to know about your program?
I want my college, my community, I want our fans to know that we are a family. We don't always get along, but at the end of the day, we love each other very much. We care about each other. We fight for one another. We work really hard in the classroom, and we work really hard on the field, and we really love to win. We like to win at life. We like to win the day. We like to win the game. We like to win. We like to have fun, and we're one big family.
Megan, getting your new facility, your new stadium is going to help things quite a bit for your program. But looking at community college softball overall, something that we've been talking about here on sportsnetusa.net for years is I believe it's really underrated. It's a very good product, and more people need to go out and watch games and go to their community colleges, whether they're in Southern California or Northern California, and just watch these games, or community colleges in Arizona or Kansas or wherever. What can community colleges do, and maybe the community colleges in California do, to better promote the game of softball and the outstanding athletes that you really have playing the sport?
I think that we're doing it now. I think we need to get on social media. I think we need to get on the internet. I think you guys do a fantastic job of promoting games. We need to put our games all over the internet. We need to get a little bit of table time. We just need to be promoted. People need to know how hard these JUCO athletes are working and how fun these games are and how exciting they are and how personable they can be. You're not in this big stadium. You're 20 feet away from home plate and you get to watch up close and personal. And they're really the best of the JUCO world, and they're going to go on to play Division One. And then you can follow them and watch them on TV on ESPN and Sports Center and the Pac-10 or Pac-12. You can watch all these athletes grow from the high school level to the JUCO level to the Division II level. It's a journey that you can watch, and it's really exciting.
Megan, I love you said that because Ed Ford and I and Corey used to do the PGF, and we had the opportunity to watch little girls play at different levels and then go for the PGF, then into high school, maybe into community college. And there were times we would sit, Corey and I would sit and watch the College World Series and felt like 2 old uncles watching people in our family because we
Exactly.
watched them grow up. And the only thing that I would love to see happen to in JUCO softball, and Ed and I have talked about it more than once, we would love to see JUCO softball expand so that California teams would play Arizona teams, New Mexico teams, teams from all over, so that when we talk about how great California softball is, we know because they're a dominant thing. Before Corey says goodnight, I just want to say you're an absolute joy as a coach and an educator. And I wish you nothing but luck in your future. And I wish more young educators would follow like you do, that truly care about your student and your student athletes. Thank you for being who you are. And I wish you nothing but success in your future.
Thank you so much, Mark. That means a great deal to me. You've known me a long time, and I really appreciate those kind words. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me tonight.
Well, it was our pleasure, most definitely. And once again, Coach Megan Martinez for Long Beach City College softball. We're gonna have you on again, and we know you're gonna follow Long Beach softball. So don't worry, we'll have her on again. For Mark Pavlovich on the left side, Ed Ford down low for head coach Megan Martinez. I am Corey Neyland, and once again, you've been watching the show on SportsNetUSA.net.